February, right after Valentine's Day, and I just finished up the Ford FE heads, 1960 model, that had that crazy combustion chamber that I went in there and altered to a current shape of combustion chamber. And this is the customer. This is Mike Nadal out of Mount Juliet, Tennessee. And as always that I do with my customers, I let them come over, I leave the heads unassembled, and I let them inspect them, look at the port work, seat and guide work. So Mike, I'm going to hand this to you. Tell us what your impressions are of your cylinder head that you've done in stage 4 porting and combustion chamber. What do you think?
Heads look real good. They looked really rough when I brought them over here. Had pits in the fire ring. Combustion chambers are real rusty. I'm not sure these things could really be saved.
Yeah, that's right. This is the one we had to weld them because it had all the holes in the fire ring. I would say they were pretty close to scrap.
Yeah, they're a lot different than when I brought them over here. They don't even look like the same cylinder head. I know they're a rare cylinder head. I want to try to get something a little more modern in the combustion chamber, get them a little bit better than what they were. I didn't want to have to buy a set of Edelbrocks since they're kind of going on a vintage car.
Right. Tell us about your car a minute. What do you got?
63 Fairlane. Put a big block in it. It's got a straight axle. It's got a 9-inch out of a 57 Fairlane.
Wow.
Put a close ratio top loader in it, scatter shield, kind of an old vintage gasser. So I basically want to stick with something kind of circa 1964, 65.
Like that manifold that I did for you brought over here. I've had a couple of my readers write in about that manifold because a couple of them know the value of it. And matter of fact, that's the first one like that I had seen in over 20 years. And although I couldn't hit it as hard as what I wanted to, I think I got it pretty close short of busting through on it. I mean, that's going to look so cool. But is that what you're going to run first, or are you going to run the blower manifold first on it?
I'm going to run the cross ram, and basically what I had you do is I purchased that cross ram. It's probably been several years ago, but the problem I had with it is I believe that's basically those manifolds were made, you either had to cut them or you had to run them on the older style heads, or excuse me, the later.
Right, because that is a big port right there. I mean, that's one of the biggest FE ports I've ever seen.
Yeah, they have the raised floor, which would be like a C68 or later, 67 or later head. And I basically wanted to take advantage of the full port on the early style head. They use this design here, up till about 66. And then they basically went to the economy head, I call them, or the high velocity head. But there's no one else I could find that would actually cut that manifold. And a lot of people, say, well, you shouldn't have cut it, but this deal here is kind of unique going together. With the old style heads, I needed the manifold to fit, and you were the one to do it. So.
Yeah, well, the one thing that I'm going to be honest about on this deal that was really rough, but the combustion chamber killed me. When you brought me this head, I had never seen one up close before that had that shape. I mean, there's no way in 1960 that they could have realized what burn was and create a shape like that. So it didn't take a lot. I had to basically lower the whole chamber floor probably about 1/8 of an inch, but at the end of the day, when it's done, you can put it right beside of a current Brodex or whatever Ford head, and it's right there with it.
Yeah, this design here transformed into something really pretty special. I mean, the standard combustion chamber basically was like a boot heel stuck in here. This deal here is pretty unique.
Well, you run your fingers through it, and you've checked the guides and the valves and everything. Are you happy with the chamber work that I done? Because the reason I'm asking, the whole goal was not to have any machinist ridge to where when the 30-degree rolled off, it went flat into the chamber with nothing in the way. How did that work out on it? What do you?
Oh yeah, this is real nice here. Like I said, stock, this head was kind of unique in its own way with the combustion chamber, but it was almost totally useless because of the little 203 valve that I would have had to have used, and it just wouldn't have cut it. I mean, I can see why they don't get these heads kind of get a little bit of a bad rap for being having a small valve in them. In this way, it made it you know, what you were able to do with the combustion chamber made it totally unique.
Right. I know this much. After sonic checking, I did a session on my own where I sonicked it after everything was done, and the thinnest spot that I come up with was 105 thousandths. So even with heavy porting, I try on the older heads to stay above 100. Now, if it was a brand new casting, I brought them down to 60, but we got to look at years of rust and water and everything, and just to be a safety factor on it, I thought that was there. But I mean, you look at the transition. One of the things I'd like to point out, if you look right here, which I showed in my tape, where I took the scribe and scribed it based on 93% of the valve diameter, there is no meat behind that. It's a straight drop from that 70-degree angle. And by the way, this is 4 angles. It's 70, 60, 70, 55, 45, and 30 roll into the chamber. That's where I put all the emphasis. I put more time on that chamber than anywhere else on the cylinder head. So one thing we're going to get to do, people, is Mike's going to put these heads on the car and the manifold I've done for him and the cam that we picked together. And we're going to put this on, and y'all going to get to see some camera on it, because when he gets ready to start it, I'm going to drive over to his house, and we're going to start it, run it, and then let him take an evaluation and see what kind of power difference he had before he run it, and then with the cylinder heads on there. So it's kind of one of the first time. He's going to be one of my first customers that I got where I was here to film it. Actually, the first one was a gentleman named Carp out of New York, where he took a set of my LT1 heads that I done and did a dyno test before and after, and I got his LT1 kicking out 450 horsepower with a stock block, stock bottom end, and stock pair of heads. So we have any kind of luck like this, what I'm gambling on, I'm thinking with that manifold that you got on there, he's going to run 2 450 Hollies, I think, right?
That's right.
I think with that, we're probably looking at about 450 to 480 horsepower when everything's tuned in and done. That might not sound like a lot, but on 390 cubic inches, and all the thing being original stuff, I think that's quite a mark myself. If we can nail 450 to 460, I'd be tickled to death.
Yeah, heads look real good. I can't wait to get them on and try them out and see what happens.
All right, well, Mike, thank you for your time, for coming up here and letting us be a part of it, and can't wait till you get it on the car. Thank you much.
Thanks.